Are you getting stronger and stronger, but your legs don't seem to grow? Or maybe you're looking for tips how to squat low. Then check out this video. So when we're working your quads during a squat, what we're trying to do is achieve as much knee flexion as possible. When I say knee flexion, think slamming your hamstrings against your calves. That means you have to give a deep squat. Now, how deep you go is going to be individualized, but what you're trying to do is go as deep as you can. So the reason you can lift heavier, but your legs aren't growing, is because, yeah, you're putting weight on the bar, but that weight isn't actually going on the quads. And this is where we use science. We're going to use moment arms to show how much load is placed on the muscle during the workout's profile. So when you're at the top position, using that moment arm, that moment arm isn't very big, saying there's not a lot of load on the quad. Yes, you've put weight on the bar, but there's not a lot of load you're actually putting on your quad. Versus when you're at the bottom of a squat, that line's a lot longer. Now this is saying, okay, now there's actual load on the quad. You're actually placing load on the muscle we're trying to work. So when you see people loading it up, and if their goal is trying to grow their quads and they're just doing these quarter reps, once you hit that quarter mark is really where you're probably just starting to feel tension in your quads. The deeper you go, the more force you can produce, more metabolic stress, better results. So sometimes it means you're going to have to drop the weight so you can get deeper. But don't think your results come from you just lifting heavy. Your results come from you challenging and stimulating growth in the muscle. The other thing you'll want to ensure if you're working your quads, you want to keep tension on the muscle, you want to have a balanced squat. What I've seen often is, someone might drop down, but if they don't know how to come up, they'll push their hips back as they come up. Kind of looks like a little stripper dance. What you're doing there is when you're pushing those hips back, you're taking that tension off your quads and you're putting it on your hams and glutes. So that's not what we're trying to work. We're trying to bias your quads as much as possible. So you want to have a nice balanced squat. You want to be able to go straight down, thinking butt to ankle, knee over toe. And then what I like to say is drive your chest straight up. If you're thinking chest straight up, your legs have to follow. Versus if your hips just get pushed back, that means now you're placing that tension on the other muscle and then you're kind of just shimmering yourself back up. Another thing you want to be mindful of is avoiding knee valgus. That just means your knees caving in. Now, this can happen for a few reasons. It can happen because maybe the weight's too heavy, or your abductors, your gluteus minimus and medius, that's the side parts of your butt, those are just not strong enough to handle whatever movement you're doing. So you would see this either when the person's descending on their squat and their knees would just cave in. Maybe they don't know the cue to drive their knees out. Or when you're at the bottom of that squat, that first initial inch on the ascension, that's really when your knees want to cave in the most. Again, what you want to think about, keeping that feet flat, driving those knees out, engaging those hip abductors as you come up to make sure you're keeping the tension on your quads and not on your knee. Some of the frequently asked questions I would get is, how low should I go? Individualize. You just want to think, what is your range of motion? I don't want you to go low thinking, well, I got to get my butt to the ground, and then you start arching your back just to go lower. I want you to think about, okay, how deep can I get standing tall, core braced, sitting down and not allowing my posture to change. Now, there's things that you can do to improve your range of motion, which we'll save for the end of the video. But whenever you're thinking about depth, everyone's individualized. You just got to figure out, where can I go for me, where I'm not going to be changing my core and posture just to force myself outside of my own range of motion. Another question people would ask, what about my squat stance? Again, individualize, comfort. Now, this has a lot to do with your hip sockets. If you have shallow hip sockets, you are probably easier to get away with a closer stance, and you probably have very good mobility. If you have deeper hip sockets, that means you're probably gonna have to take a wider stance, because you trying to stand in close, you're not gonna be able to get down as deep. The stance of your feet isn't going to dictate what muscles you're working. Is really what you're doing with your hip. So don't think, wide stance for hamstrings, close stance for quads, because if you don't have the mobility and you just stay close, you're not going to be able to go anywhere. So what you're thinking about if you're trying to work your quads, knee flexion, knee over toe, butt to ankle. And then lastly, how much should I be squatting? Don't think about weight. In my opinion, should be the least important factor. You just want to think about what can I do where I can keep my form intact, feel the right muscles doing the work, and then slowly progress. All you're looking for is slow progression. If you're doing what you should be doing inside and outside of the gym, even if, and this is for me, if I'm able to get one extra rep a week, quality rep, then I'm going in the right direction. I don't need to rush it. Is when you think you got to go up 2 pounds, 5 pounds, 10 pounds every week, where then you start to decrease your range of motion just for the weight. Or at worst, an injury happens. So don't get too caught up in numbers on how much you should be lifting. See where you are, because everyone's different, and then know that you've got your form down, you got your feeling down, and then watch as your body progresses over time. I want to go through a few different things that's going to help with your mobility of your squats. Again, when we're thinking of mobility of the squats, there's a few things we're looking for. You want to improve your ankle mobility, and I do want to give you a drill that you guys can do to help strengthen your hip abductors, and then one that kind of pairs them both together. And this should help just improve your range of motion of your squat.